Hello, I'm Geraldine and these are my novel opinions. I haven't, I'm afraid to say, had the best reading month in October. Not the books, I've read some excellent books, but I had a failure of concentration earlier on in the month, and for a couple of books it just took me an age to get through them. And then just as I was getting my concentration back, I came down with a minor bug which also gave me conjunctivitis, so I couldn't read very well for a while. It was making it quite uncomfortable to look at a book. So that lost me a day or two's reading as well. And the conjunctivitis is almost better, but hence the slightly squiffy eye and the specs today. But I did manage to get through 5 books, so let's get on and talk about them. At the end of last month, I was just starting on the original by Nell. I really enjoyed this book. It's about a young girl who is very grudgingly taken in by her wealthy uncle and his family. They don't treat her particularly well, apart from her oldest cousin, who is quite kind to her and tries to teach her how to paint. And during these lessons, they find that she's absolutely hopeless painting from life, but she can copy existing paintings absolutely perfectly. And as she grows up, she starts to make a bit of a living at this. Well, not really a living, but she makes a small income out of it. But one day her cousin disappears. He's gone off, and they assume that he's been lost at sea and died, until 13 years after that, when he suddenly reappears. But he looks very different, and some of the family aren't convinced that it's him, but he's saying, well, you know, it's been 13 years, people change. The protagonist herself can't really tell because she suffers from face blindness, so she can't tell from his appearance alone, but he does seem to know an awful lot of things that her cousin would have known. So that means the title of the book, the original, could refer to the original cousin or the original paintings that the protagonist is copying. I really enjoyed the storyline of this one. It's got lots of twists and turns, and it's very compelling. And I also like the way it concentrated on certain works of art that are in the National Gallery. And ever since finishing it, I've been meaning to pop along to the National Gallery. It's barely an hour from here, so I've got no excuse, but, you know, life. So I haven't managed that yet, but I still intend to. Some very minor quibbles. I didn't entirely emotionally engage with all of the characters, and I thought there was a couple of decisions that the protagonist made which weren't entirely logical. But apart from that, I mean, those are very minor quibbles. Sorry, those are my cats coming running into the room. But apart from those very minor quibbles, I really enjoyed this book. After that, I read Greater Sins by Gabrielle Griffiths. This is billed as a literary whodunit, but it's not really. That's quite misleading. It's set in Scotland in 1915, just as men are beginning to enlist and go off to war. And in it, there's a woman called Lizzie who finds a body in the local peat bog. She enlists the help of Johnny, who's a travelling singer and farm labourer, to help her get the body out. And they're both very interested to find out who this is. It's the body of a woman, but she's in a wooden box, so obviously it's not someone who just fell into the peat bog accidentally. But apart from that, they can't really tell whether it's a recent body or an ancient one, because peat will preserve bodies. On the other hand, the other locals in the village, they see the body as a bad omen, and they just want to get it buried. But all of this is really only a catalyst for us to get to know the backstories of Lizzie and Johnny. It also covers topics such as how dangerous classism, misogyny, superstition, religious zealotry, social expectations, and even just gossip can be. It starts out very much as a character-led novel, but becomes more plot-driven towards the end. A couple of minor quibbles again. First of all, it's the age-old discussion of whether we should be looking at morals of a past time through a modern lens. All of the misogyny and the classism and so on would have been quite normal at the time. They're not now. Not only are we looking at them through a 21st century lens, but they're being presented by a 21st century author. Certainly good that we should learn from the past, but I'm not sure whether we should be judging the past on that. Secondly, I think there were a couple of occasions where the characters behaved in a way that suited the plot rather than the character, which rankled slightly. But as I say, these again are minor quibbles, and overall I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was excellent. The third book I read in October was Muckle Flugga by Michael Pedersen. Now, first of all, to explain the title, Muckle Flugga is one of the Shetland Islands. There's lots of islands that make up the group, but there are three main islands. The biggest one is called Mainland, and then you've got Yell just above that, and just above that Unst, and Muckle Flugga is just off Unst. I've actually been to Shetland. I had a wonderful holiday there a few years ago. It's an amazing place. I went there because I really wanted to see puffins up close, and I did get to see that right down at the south of Mainland Island. But also what I wanted to do was to go up to Unst, where you get the car ferry across, and then you can drive about halfway across this island, and then you have to walk on boardwalks to the very northern point, to Hermaness, where you can just sit down and they'll come and sit next to you. But sadly, the weather stymied us on that one. You do have to have very flexible plans when you holiday on Shetland. But if I had got up to Hermaness and sat amongst the puffins, I would have seen Muckle Flugga. Now, in reality, Muckle Flugga is just a rock. It's barely got even any grass or moss or anything on it. That's not the case in this book. The author has taken slight literary liberties and has put trees and vegetable patches and all sorts of things. It's actually the story of a lighthouse keeper and his son. The lighthouse keeper is only known as the father, and his son is Oos, who's really the main character. And there really is a lighthouse on Muckle Flugga. It's long been automated. I think 1995 it was automated, so there's no longer a lighthouse keeper. Not sure when this was set. I think that's deliberate. I'm guessing around about the 1980s. But this book borders on magical realism, so it doesn't really matter when it's set. The story surrounds a time when a lodger called Firth comes to stay on Muckle Flugga. He has quite dark reasons for coming to the island, but those plans are changed when he becomes concerned for Oos, the son, and how he's being treated by the father. Firth's concern isn't entirely altruistic, although there is tenderness there. And all of this disrupts life on the island for everyone concerned. I did need a dictionary next to me while I was reading this book, and sometimes the writing bordered on slightly pretentious, but I think I can forgive that because it's such a lovely book. And there's a lot of Scottish dialect in there, which I absolutely loved. And of course, there's a reason why some of these words survive being drowned out by the English language. It's because they're so beautiful and so apt as well. But overall, I found this an absolutely magical book. The character of Oos reminded me quite a lot of the character Piranesi in Susanna Clarke's novel, in his innocent kindness. He was a really lovely character, and I was very happy with the ending. Although again, like the last book, there were a couple of decisions made by the characters which I think were there to suit the plot rather than the characters themselves. But again, overall, I absolutely adored this book. I thought it was lovely. Next up was Helm by Sarah Hall. Now, the title Helm refers to a wind in the north of England, and this book is a series of stories set throughout history about people engaging in some way or other with this wind. I struggled to connect with a lot of the characters and stories at first, but about 2/3 of the way through it started to click with me and I was enjoying it an awful lot more. But ultimately I did find it all a little bit unsatisfying at the end. It's a bit difficult to say anything without giving away spoilers, but I think that while the wind helm continues, which might have been the message that the author was trying to get across, I don't see why some of these stories couldn't have concluded a little bit better. This seems to be a book that divides people. They either love it or hate it. I'm a little bit in the middle, and let's just say it didn't blow me away. The last book I read in October was Seascraper by Benjamin Wood. Now, this is a gorgeously atmospheric book, not just in the scenery, but also the descriptions of the life led by the main character, Thomas. Thomas is only about 20, but his job has broken his body already. He fishes for shrimp, brown shrimp, using a very old-fashioned method that involves a horse and cart, whereas everyone else is using vehicles to do a much more efficient job. But it's how he was brought up by his grandfather to do it. And so that's how he does it and how he wants to continue doing it. But then one day a man turns up. He's a Hollywood producer and he wants to pay Thomas an amount of money to go and help him scout locations for a film that he wants to make. And all this sort of brings into Thomas's life the possibility that maybe he doesn't have to live the life that he was brought up to have, but that he could possibly live his dreams instead of or as well as being a shrimper. The book is very short. It's more of a novella really, and it's structured like a short story. We see the whole story from Thomas's viewpoint, and there's just one narrative. It starts at the beginning and it goes all the way through. There's no jumping backwards or forwards or viewpoints from other people. There's no subplot. So it's quite a simple little tale, but my word, it packs a lot into that 163 odd pages. Overall, I thought it was an absolutely gorgeous book. I really enjoyed it, and I can see why a lot of people were quite upset that it didn't make the Booker shortlist this year. That's all my books for October. I have started Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. I thought I would manage to get it finished, but thanks to the squiffy eye and me not feeling 100%, I haven't quite, but that'll be my first book for November. So I look forward to seeing you then.